Al and Terry Purvis first arrived in Thailand in 1982 with a dream in their hearts to raise leaders. They landed in Bangkok with little more than the clothes on their backs and some money to open a children's home. Within 6 months, that money was spent, and it was up to Al and Terry to lean on their faith to see God's provision released over their ministry going forward. They dug into the Word of God, standing on God's promise to provide every need, and Al and Terry began to experience supernatural breakthroughs as partners rallied alongside them in the vision to raise leaders in Asia. As the children of El Shaddai grew up and they opened a small church in Sriracha, God began to reveal the next phase of ministry.
20 years ago now, we had rented 2 or 3 houses in Sriracha and another building for the church. And we had a big problem come up and lost it all, had to move out of the mall.
ตอนนั้นอยากจะเล่าให้เป็นเรื่องที่แบบสวยงามแต่มันไม่ใช่นะ ปลูกคริสตจักรแล้วก็มีคนมาช่วยรับใช้พระเจ้าด้วยกันประมาณ 4-5 คนตอนนั้นลูกๆกำลังโตคนโตก็อายุ20กว่าแล้วก็ให้เขามาช่วยงานคริสตจักรเป็นผู้นำนมัสการบ้างเทศนาบ้างอะไรแต่ในช่วงนั้นเราก็ปลูกที่นี่ก็ได้ถึง60คนวันหนึ่งวันอาทิตย์วันหนึ่งแล้วก็คนที่จะเป็นผู้ช่วยสบเนี่ยในคริสตจักรนี้ก็มาเรียกพ่อมาคุยวันจันทร์บอกว่าเอาแค่นี้เราจะยึดโบสถ์นี้ไปแล้วก็เราจะไล่อาจารย์แอลกลับประเทศเกิดอะไรขึ้นในใจของเราไม่รู้ว่ามันกับอกหักจริงๆนะมันใจก็แตกสลายจริงๆฮะแล้วก็อธิษฐานว่าพระเจ้าอยู่ทำไงพระเจ้าก็โดนใจเราหนุนใจเราที่จะอวยพรเขา
ทุกอย่างดูเหมือนจะไม่เป็นอย่างที่หวังเริ่มต้นด้วยความชื่นชมยินดีแต่กลับต้องอยู่ในจุดที่เจ็บปวดแต่นั่นไม่ทำให้พวกเขายอมแพ้และพระเจ้าก็มาทันเวลาเสมอพระเจ้าได้เปิดประตูใหม่ให้กับพวกเขาคือการให้ตึกใหม่สำหรับคริสตจักรแห่งใหม่และใหญ่กว่าเดิม10 เท่า
Suddenly. And so I contacted a businessman in town and I said, we need a building. Can you show us something that you've got to rent that, that we could afford? He took us down there and parked in front of the Victor Tower and he's showing us this building and he says, I want you to rent this one. I'm looking at it and thinking, man, this 5-story building, the mortgage payment on this has got to be 100,000 baht a month, at least. And so he's got to ask at least that much for rent. I just said, no, there's no way we can do this. He said, I want you to live in this building. The reason was that the vandals, right, the thieves and stuff were coming in, stealing the wiring and wrecking the building. He said, I'll rent it to you for 12,000 baht a month. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I'll give you 10,000. He said, yes. So we moved into that building and thinking, okay, God, now what? And I believe that God absolutely put us in front of that building that day and gave it to us for 10,000 baht a month so that it would almost like force us to grow to the next level. And then we moved all of our kids in the building and then over the next few days we fixed up a place to have a church suddenly, right, by Sunday. And I'm praying about this building and saying, God, what do you want us to do with it? And it just dropped in my heart that now it's time to open an international Bible college, which was interesting because now we've got nothing going on. We lost our church in Sriracha and so on. And now we're going to open an international Bible college and we're going to reach the nations of Asia. That's the way God thinks, You keep your heart right and man, He does amazing things. And so we started promoting that idea of an international Bible college. People started coming from all over Asia. But then we're in this building and the owner is saying, I need to sell this building. Because what happened, it was in a time of the economy crashed in Thailand, seriously crashed. So the value of the building has just dropped it's dropped to 40% of what it was before. So it's a really good opportunity for us. But we got no money, right? And the owner is saying, okay, you guys want to stay here? You're going to have to buy this building. And we'd been there for 2 years already. And I said, yes, we're going to buy the building. He was getting kind of frustrated. And I'm like, God, how are we going to buy this building? We got zero money. We can't even put a down payment on it or a deposit. And yet we absolutely see that we need this. This is the purpose of God and the plan of God for us. But that's a challenging place to be in because you've got to really believe God. Especially with the pressure from the owner. He was getting so frustrated with me. One day he come to me and he said, you know, Al, I don't know how it works in your country, but in Thailand, when you buy a building, you have to actually pay money for it. I'm like, okay, it's a simple explanation. Yeah, it works like that in our country too, but I don't have any money. But this guy was always telling me, you know what? Because you guys are Canadians, you should start an English school here and a computer school. And so I told him, I said, you know what? I'm going to start an English school and a computer school. And he said, okay, well, I'll give you some more time then. Because he thought we would make a ton of money doing that. We'd be able to buy the building.
As the team opened an English center, it helped bring in some much needed finances. But the vision was so big that they really needed a supernatural breakthrough. So Dr. Al began to cast the vision of an international training center so people could partner with the ministry for the next level of impact in Asia.
As we're doing that, money starts to come in, and eventually we're able to put a deposit on it, and we're starting to kind of make the payments. We were paying like 80,000 baht a month or something like that. That was a real stretch for us, though. Then one day we get a phone call from Canada, the Victory Church in Canada, and the pastor wanted to do a renovation of the church in Canada. And the pastor and the board of directors said, well, you know what? We don't want to just focus on our church. We want to focus on reaching the world. If it's just about making our church beautiful, we don't want to do it. So they decided that whatever they raised for the church renovation, they would raise the same amount for the Victory Tower in Thailand, and paid it completely off in a few months. What a miracle, you know? Look at that God. God is so faithful. You just step out and you just do what you can, and His favor comes and directs you the way you need to go, and then, you know, the miracles come. Not to say that it's not full of hardships. I mean, we had crazy things happening, but you just push through those things with your faith, and you look at the purpose of the thing, that we are going to reach the nations of Asia from this building.
This building has become the base for an apostolic movement, training and equipping leaders to launch them into fruitful ministry across Asia.
You take risks that are covered with wisdom, and you move forward in faith in the face of very nervous almost, you know, because you don't know, you don't have any like proof other than faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the proof, the evidence of things we don't see yet. You just got to walk in faith, and it'll increase your influence, increase your ability to do what God has called you to do.
God had proved Himself faithful once again. The building was fully paid off and renovations began in preparation for a Bible training center for the nations.
So I want to put it out there to you, for your business, for your family, for your church, for your ministry, whatever it is, that lands and buildings really are planting a stake. They're putting roots down in wherever it is that God has called you to. And it does give people a different perspective of your level of commitment, and also a tremendous blessing in many ways. I mean, you think of rental buildings, you're always having to move. You own your own building now, everything that you invest, you get to keep. But it's worth it because our focus is not on the land and the building. Our focus is on what we can produce with the lands and the buildings.